Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Homeschool podcast. I am your host, Bree. I am so excited. I'm sharing this day with two amazing people. My co host in all things business and schooling is Alex. Alex is here. We always are loving interviewing authors and educators because homeschooling is so important to us. It is important to me. I believe a global classroom is where we need to go and where we need to be. And now it is possible on the Great Discovery to have a global classroom. So I'm going to pass it over to Alex.
Mhm.
Alex, thanks for being the best co-host ever. I
Oh,
appreciate
it's
it.
okay. Yeah, no problem. Yeah. Great to be here today. We got Maggie, and she's an amazing educator. She's got an incredible children's book series. She's developed a lot of different kids' books, which we're going to be highlighting today on the platform. So if you're a parent and you love educating your children, you love sharing and reading them stories, I did. That was my favorite thing growing up was when my mom would read me the picture book stories. And Maggie's are incredible. I've been looking at them, and we've been looking at her website. We're going to review some of them today. But want to welcome you, Maggie. Why don't you give us a little overview of who Maggie is, and then we'll kind of dive into the different books and discuss everything that you got going on.
Sure. Well, thank you guys so much for having me here. This is so exciting. I love talking about children's books, and I love talking about my own children's books too. So that's exciting. Yeah. So my name is Maggie van Galen. I am a children's book author and wordsmith. So I have 5 children's books that have been published. I've been doing this I've been writing since I could hold a pen. Um, but I've been writing children's books. The first one was published back in 2011. So I've got a couple decades under my belt of this. Yeah, and I'm super excited to share the different series with you, talk a little bit about, the activities and resources that we've developed both for kiddos and for parents, um, to trying to support kids in any classroom that they're in, really. Yeah, and I used to, in a previous life, I was also a ski instructor, and I had the homeschool groups on Thursdays, which was always fun for their sort of physical activities in the winter. So, yeah, so I'm excited to be here and to join you guys. So this is fun.
Well, we're excited to dive into some of these books that you have because you have some incredible. I love the illustrations. I love the stories. So you have a couple of different stories here. A couple different children's books here. You got King Takes a Bath, The Car Wash, A New Friend, The Banana Tree, The Diamond Mine. So some great ones here. Love the illustrations. Like I said,
Thank you.
let's talk about a couple of these. Why don't we dive into maybe a couple of these? Which one did you want to highlight here first, Maggie?
So, well, first of all, let me just say that I am not the illustrator. I can draw stick figures, and that's about the extent of my artistic ability. So, kudos goes out to my illustrators. So, I started with the Adventures of Kino and Ernest series. So, the Banana Tree, the Diamond Mine, and the New Friend. The Banana Tree was the first book to come out, so we can start with that one if you want. The general premise behind the Kino and Ernest series is that there are 2 best friends that live in the jungle. Kino is a very mischievous little monkey, and Ernest is his best friend, who's an elephant. Kino gets himself in trouble. Ernest gets him out. Along the way, Kino has a little adventure and learns some life lessons and, some sort of morals of the story, if you will, at the end. Um, I do have 2 children, and I may have a Kino and I may have an Ernest, just saying. Um, so, the morals of the story got a little bit older as the stories went on. Um, I had a friend who was a local puppet maker, and she made some character puppets to go along with the books. And it's been such a my initial goal was really to see my words come to life in print. Um, and over the course of the years, they've gotten some accolades. All 3 books in the Kino and Ernest series are Mom's Choice Award approved, which I still pinch myself about. Because if you don't know the Mom's Choice Award, it's an international organization that looks at all family-friendly products, services, and media. So to have like a group of strangers that actually know what they're talking about say that I'm doing something right was like amazing. So I'm very proud of that. They have won some other awards. My favorite part about being a children's book author is doing readings to kids. I've read to over 5,000 kids, haven't lost one yet, literally or figuratively. So that's a lot of fun. And I'm actually running a special right now where I'm doing 25% off author readings where you can book now and schedule anytime during the school year. So just contact me if you are interested. So first came the banana tree. And then I did the diamond mine. And in the banana tree, Kino learns about sort of following family rules and friendship. In this book, Kino learns about asking before taking. And then in the third book, which is A New Friend, Kino learns about not changing himself to be liked or accepted by others. So staying true to yourself. And those 3 books in the series. And there's all kinds of activities that we've developed around the series as well. And exactly. So there's teacher resources, there's activities, there's crafts. That first one, the setting one. Go down one more.
Sure.
That one. Yep. So that actually, an elementary school teacher developed a lesson plan for me, teaching setting to sort of early elementary, so first, second grade area. And then there's, the Campfire Stories is an article that I wrote about being creative storytelling for parents, different ways to tell stories. There's crafts that you can download, templates to cut out, all kinds of fun things that you can incorporate into a lesson. So read the story. Sorry, my phone just went off. Read the story, do the...
I was going to see if this display here. She's got a great lesson plan. I don't know if it's going to display. Oh, it does. Great. Yeah, this is awesome. So a lot of different digital downloads here, and these are free on the website.
All free. Yep.
Yeah. Wow. Incredible.
Yeah. So great, tools that you can use. Mm-hmm. And then, so that's the Kino in Earnest series. It's near and dear to my heart. So Kino, the sort of backstory behind that, Kino and Ernest were characters in bedtime stories that my dad used to tell me.
Oh, wow.
And he never wrote any of them down, but he was like this amazing storyteller. And he would transport you to wherever he was telling the story about, and you would totally be engaged in the plot. Unfortunately, I didn't really remember the plot so much. I do remember there was a lot of action and adventure and not a lot of life lessons. But when my oldest son was born, I started making up my own stories around Kino in Earnest. And because, I'm a mom, I had to throw in some life lessons and morals and that kind of stuff. So they're very near and dear to my heart. And then the second series, which I started just before COVID, the first book, which is King's Day Out, the Car Wash, actually was my COVID project. And that King is my dog. He's a 125-pound Bernese mountain dog who's full of love and fur and slobber.
Bree can relate. She's got a massive dog herself. Yeah.
You've got a big one too?
The slobber is real. Yeah, I have a puppy. He's 9.5, almost 10 months old, and he's a Cane Corso.
Okay.
I'm literally watching him in the background chewing things he's not supposed to be chewing right now.
Yep. It's crazy, right? So this story was, I took, his name is Koning, which is Dutch for king. My husband's Dutch, and he was the last one to buy into getting a dog, so he got to choose the name. But I had Koning with me when I went to the car wash, not to get him cleaned or anything. He just happened to be in the car with me. And I noticed that he was scratching at the vents and sniffing and nervous and jumping around in the seats and everything. And being one of those dog moms, I thought it was cute. So I videotaped it. And fast forward, I am with a friend of mine whose son has a chromosomal disorder. It presents similar to autism, but it has a lot of other challenges as well. And some of those challenges are sensory challenges. So we all, process sensory differently. And sometimes it doesn't go as planned. So, and we were just talking, and I showed her the video because her child has a service dog. And so the dogs are, whatever. So anyway, she's like, oh my God, you have to write a book about this. This would be amazing. It would help so many kids and blah, blah, blah. And I thought, great idea, but I don't have the medical background for that. So sort of tucked it away in the good ideas folder. And then fast forward again, I'm having coffee with my now co-author of this book, Dr. Amy Whedon, who's a pediatric occupational therapist, and she specializes in sensory processing disorder and sensitivity, which I knew nothing about, to be fair and to be honest. And we were talking about something totally different. And when she mentioned that, I told her my idea for the book. And she was like, oh my God, this would be fantastic. There aren't a lot of books for kids that you can read along books that you can read with. So we left coffee with the decision to write the book together. And a week later, the world shut down to COVID. So that was truly our COVID project. So in the King's Day Out series, there's 2 books. And the goal there is really to empower children as they navigate life's sort of everyday adventures, everyday tasks that have a huge sensory piece to them. So there's, like I said, 2 books. There's The Car Wash, which was the first book. And then we released King Takes a Bath. Bathing can be a highly sensory sensitive experience. And then there's a 3rd book that's made its way out of my head. We'll see. Maybe I'll come back on and we can talk about that one next time. But yeah, so I basically write the book and then Amy lays the OT lens over it. And I would be amiss if I didn't shout out my illustrator, Leslie Beauregard, who is phenomenal and is a huge dog lover as well. And then my illustrator for the Keynote and Ernest books is Joanna Lundeen. So yeah, that's my story. And again, tons of resources and activities on this book, these books as well. There's free downloads, there's crafts, there's that video. If you scroll up a second, Alex, right under the bunny, nope.
Mm-hmm. Yep,
Draw Ben's bunny is a video that Leslie, our illustrator, did on how to draw the bunny. So it's a step-by-step, which is really fun. And then there's also resources for parents, caregivers, and even some sort of milestones for medical professionals and pediatricians and stuff like that for them to look for from the sensory perspective. So that's me in a nutshell.
Yeah. No, this is amazing. I love your website. I love all the resources that you have here. So many free resources for the children and for the parents and for teachers using these as teaching aids. And I really love that you're creating creating books, creating content for, children with, these sensory issues, right? These sensory, things that are going on and making them really fun, incorporating the dog. And I think this is great. I've never seen a book like this before. And I'm a huge dog lover myself. I'm big into dogs. So yes, every story that has to incorporate a dog in some way or another. So I love it.
Thank you. Yeah. One of the things that we really, when the first book came out, The Car Wash, one of the things that we got some feedback on, which was amazing and was sort of an unintended benefit that we didn't see, is we got a message from a kindergarten teacher who said, it's awesome to see somebody with the sound blocker headphones on.
Yep.
Because, and the child in the story is the hero of our story, right? So he's teaching King how to overcome the fears and anxieties associated with the different senses based on the tools that he's learned with his OT. We're not taking the tools and applying them to the dog. Ben's wearing the sound blocker headphones and he's covering King's ears. Ben's wearing the weighted blanket. He's giving King a big full body hug. So they're tools that can be applied in different ways. But what I was getting to before, the teacher was so appreciative of the fact that we had mainstreamed a tool that a lot of kids use in schools. And, she was like, it's awesome because now children that don't use them may look at, whoever, and say, oh, that's totally normal. Now I get why he's using them. So they're using it as a teaching tool to teach the neurotypical children what the tools are for with a neurodiverse audience. So it was a sort of unintended benefit, but we were really pleased and excited about that. So
yeah, it normalizes it, right? And gives awareness to it and makes it, oh yeah, well, I saw that in this book, and it's, I see that this is just, that's just their day. That's just the way they operate. And it definitely normalizes it. I think that's really the key thing. I know with my son, when he was diagnosed with diabetes, going to the nurse and having to do shots and all of the different things, the reason that he, was bullied about it, or it was because there was a lack of understanding from the kids around him, and they didn't have the awareness. If they understood that, hey, he has to do this, he doesn't like it, he has to get shots, he has to monitor himself all the time, he has these different things. If they were made more aware of what it all meant to him, I think it would have been a lot easier. And so providing this in the book is amazing because it really does that. I can't stress enough normalization of our differences, and so that we're more acceptable. And as we teach that acceptance in these younger kids, and they see, hey, just because he does something differently doesn't mean that it's strange or weird or, icky, or I don't know, you know what I mean? It gives you that awareness. And when you accept it with him in this book, then they become more accepting in their outward world and the experiences and the people that they come across. So
yeah, and especially at a young age too, right? Having that exposure at a young age, really important, and these books make that possible.
Yeah, well,
go ahead.
I think you don't know what you don't know, right? Mm-hmm. And especially kiddos in our books are elementary age books, right? So they don't know this, and maybe their immediate sort of kickback response is one of I push you away or shut you down. But if they understand it, and then they're more likely to sort of join forces. Yeah. If you don't mind going back to that other one, the collaborative products. So this was fun. We worked with two different people. One is a jeweler who loved our books and wanted to create a piece of jewelry that represented your infinite support and love for kiddos, pups, and it's adjustable so all ages can wear it. And then the other one we worked with, she is an occupational therapist in the Tampa area, Green Eggs Therapy, and she makes sensory kits for kids. So she made one that was car wash themed, which is so cool. It comes with everything you need, along with 25 printed worksheets for teachers. It has play, it has building and craft. It's so cool. So we had a lot of fun working with these different people, creating just things that could add value for the classroom.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. That's awesome. You've developed so many different resources and tools, and you put them all into, these great websites that are just really fun to kind of navigate and explore, and, a lot of this for free. And then you can purchase the books for a little bit more. And that's just, love what you've done here, Maggie. You've created something just, really incredible. And, this podcast is not only about sharing homeschooling resources with parents, but also kind of learning about the educators themselves and their journeys and how they became publishers and how they're, growing their kind of children's education business. So if you don't mind, if you could kind of share that journey for people. I mean, you've done 5 books, and all these other supplemental things, and you started off, kind of before, and then you've, developed more as you've gone on. So could you give us kind of that journey and maybe some tips and tricks for people who are listening in who want to maybe publish or start some sort of homeschooling or children's education business?
Yeah, sure. So like I said, my journey started with just wanting to see my words come to print. And that's kind of where my area of expertise comes from in terms of sort of cultivating the books and being an author. I do help. I have a bit of a side hustle where I help authors that, want to become published authors. Like if you want to be Tom Clancy, the next Tom Clancy, I'm probably not your gal. But if you want to get that manuscript out of your drawer and dust it off and see it come to life, I can help you get there. And there is, it is a whole industry, publishing, and publishing gets you from idea to published book. And then there's a whole nother industry that goes into the publicity of your published work, right? So it depends a lot on what your goals are. So if you want to see your words come to life, you can do everything from self-published to indie published. There's boutique publishers. There's, the big five: Random House, Penguin Books. And it's a changing world. It's a changing world with AI coming into play. We could have a whole nother podcast on that. I'm not sure that falls under homeschooling, but yeah, my tips are to, and this is what I tell kids when I do teaching lessons too, just get it out. Get the words out on paper. When I'm talking to kids, I say, just throw up on a piece of paper. There's no right or wrong. There's, turn off spell check, turn off Grammarly or whatever you're doing. Even pick up a pen and paper. That's my mode of my favored mode of communication. And just write it down. And then you can always go back and fine tune it and change it and that type of thing. My other, and this is my soapbox thing, is please hire an editor before you publish. The whole self-publishing industry in the literary world has a fairly negative connotation because you can get published so easily today. There's so many platforms where you can just go, oh, you know what, I'm going to upload my book. And they do. And it might be a great book, but every book needs to be edited professionally. Even I'm an editor and I do that as well on the side. I send my books out to be professionally edited because I'm too close to it. I get it to the best of my ability and then I send it out. So that's my soapbox thing, is please get yourself edited before you do that. So yeah, those are my two sort of tips and tricks for the day.
I think you definitely need to be edited. I know I do. And that's one of the things, solopreneurs, we get these great ideas and you don't have a team around you or a business partner or someone because you can like maybe share it with family or friends, but they're not going to give you their honest feedback. It's not really going to help you. So you have that, somebody else looking at it and saying, okay, this isn't right here and we can change that there and things like that. It gives you such a polished product when you're done that makes a lot more sense, because it all makes sense to me, but I wrote it and I understand the depths of all of the things. Exactly. And we don't but our readers, we need to make sure that our readers understand all of the intricacies and all of the depths of each character, each whatever it is we're trying to put out. And it definitely is a key. I love that you call yourself a wordsmith. I love that. My father was a wordsmith. He was an attorney, but was a brilliant, brilliant writer. I did give him my paper in senior high school to proofread for me and make corrections on. And when I got it back, it was quite a different. Hey, I still turned it in, got an A on it. So, but it was bedecked in pomp and splendor. That's what my dad wrote. And I'm like, there's no way a 17-year-old is writing bedecked in pomp and splendor. But apparently I did in that paper. But it didn't hurt. Got me an A. So definitely worth it. One of the things we talked about in the beginning of this, Maggie, was my love, and Alex shares this with me, of a global classroom. So I wanted to take a second just to talk about what that means and why it's so important to us. And that is, we are at the age where AI is assisting us in so many things and give us the opportunity to do a lot more than we've ever done before. Some for the good, some for the not so great, right? It's changing some things for not you have to take the whole cookie. You can't just take one bite. So what I love about it, though, is it gives us the opportunity to have a global classroom where students of all backgrounds and language can come together and learn from each other. So we could be teaching something like your books, we could be they could be reading it together, but a student that's over in South Africa and a student that's in Thailand, and we all speak different languages, could have a conversation with a student in America and all have that talk about it, how it affects them, what it means in their life, the experiences they've had, and share that so that they're getting that from around the world. And to me, that is the most fascinating idea. Let's not just learn about another country and read a history book or whatever. Let's talk to the people that are living over there, living wherever it is, and they're curious about America and what does an 8-year-old do every day, and what do you have for breakfast? What do you do after school? What do you what do you do on the weekends? What are your friends like? What do you like for music? What's your favorite food? Like, there's a million questions they could be asking each other.
Yeah,
and that we have that in the Great Discovery on our global classrooms.
Well, it gets back to kind of what we were talking about before, exposing, children to these new ideas very early on, right? As early as possible, right? So they get that exposure and that familiarity and that comfort level, and they're not kind of being smacked with it later in life. And like, when they really, when they're starting to really develop those opinions and kind of, once they get to the teenage stage, they're experts at everything, right? So we got to make sure that they're exposed and they have that knowledge before, and just so important. And then, that ability to share with people all over the world, right? Get our products out there, to more people all over the world in 160 plus languages in 200 plus countries. And I wanted to ask Maggie about this too. Maggie, you got nominated and you were awarded the Mom's Choice Award for these 3 books. I mean, that's incredible. I mean, that's amazing. So, I mean, everybody wants to win awards and everybody wants that level of, exposure and recognition. So could you give us like a behind the scenes of how did that happen? How do you kind of get your books out there and promote your books? We can talk about the Great Discovery helping with that too, but we're curious how you get your books out there and kind of share your books with people. And how do you get the Mom's Choice Award? That's amazing.
Yeah. So in the book world, it's interesting, right? So you submit your books to the Mom's Choice Award. You submit your book. You have to pay to submit your book. So it's a bit of counterintuitive in terms of, I got an award, but I had to pay for it. But it doesn't really work that way. Like, everybody has to pay to submit their books, and not everybody wins an award. And then, so the Mom's Choice Award does monthly awards because they get so many, because like I said, it's not just books, it's all family friendly products, services, and media. So they do monthly awards. You submit your book, and they have a team of judges, I guess, or reviewers. But they're people, like, when I submitted my books, they were people like the founder of Baby Einstein. And I was like, wow, these are like experts in their field. Like, they really know what they're talking about. So the same kind of goes for other awards, like the Banana Tree one, it's Story Monsters approved. And I love this one because they actually have a panel of kids that read your book and then vote. So that was kind of fun to do. The King's Day Out series is kindness certified by a nonprofit called Ella's Way, which is an amazing nonprofit that was founded by a former nurse, and she's also an author, and she saw a need for books that promote inclusion, acceptance, diversity, and disability. So she's created this collaborative of children's book authors that she comes together, brings us all together. Our books are kindness certified, and then she donates batches of books to libraries across the country and around the world, which is amazing. So it's really up to you as an author to step out of your comfort zone and make the connections and, say, hey, Alex, I saw you do a homeschooling podcast. Can I be on it? Right. Or walk into your local bookstore and say, hey, can I do a reading here? How does that work? What do you need me to do? Can I, I'll do all the promotion if you'll give me an hour to read, and I'll invite people. And so it is a lot up to you, even if you get picked up by one of the big five, Penguin Books knocks on your door tomorrow and says, hey, we'd like to take you. You still have to do a lot of the work yourself. So it's not that you write a book and sit back and wait for, the New York Times bestseller list to come knocking. You got to go get it. That's just the way it is.
Love that advice. Yeah, love that advice. All the tips that you gave, right? Submitting into these places and kind of the process around it. Sometimes you got to pay, right? And that's to kind of create at least some little barrier of entry, so people who are, have that quality book, or, are serious about it and aren't just getting flooded with all these AI books or something like that. You know what I mean? And yeah, going to the bookstore, asking, how do I do a reading here, and taking that initiative. And, it is up to you. That kind of leads into the, a little bit of the great discovery. We have this podcast. We are all about elevating and celebrating, people who are children's authors and who want to promote their children's series. Children's education is so important to Bree, to me, to you, obviously, Maggie. Getting information out there to children, not only in America who speak English, but kids all over the world. So important that we expose them and educate them as much as we can, especially when they're young, because that's the foundation for the rest of their life. Create that love of learning very early on, so they're not, developing that love of learning when they're out of school already, which is what is the case for a lot of people. They realize, oh, well, now I have to become a lifelong learner because the world is changing so fast. Yeah. Because I have to learn all these new skills, and to have to develop that later in life, a lot more difficult than developing it very early in life. Yeah. So yeah, I love that. Well, Bree, we are at about time here. Maggie, you've been a fantastic guest today. Aww. Love all the books. Definitely invite you back if you ever release a new book or have anything new to share. I know you got a lot more things coming along. So Maggie, why don't you just give us a little preview of the future or any calls to action, and then Bree can wrap us up and kind of lead us out. But Maggie, what's next for Maggie? What should people look out for? And how do people find you and contact you and find all your different books?
Sure. So I have two sort of big things coming. So happening now, let's say. Like I said, I'm doing the 25% off author visits now through the end of the year. So you can book now and schedule. Got to be honest, most teachers usually like to have me come in the spring when they're kind of burnt out and need a little bit of a break. Bree's shaking her head because she used to be a teacher. So yeah, you can book now and then do later. But and then the other thing, which starts November 1st and goes for 6 months. So I always try to find a nonprofit or charity that supports either animals or children or both. And my charity coming up in from November 1st through May 1st is Canines for Disabled Kids. And I'll drop that in the chat. So this is a great organization that works to help families get service dogs, because that's not a inexpensive process. I just dropped that in our chat, Alex, if you wanted to pull that up. Yeah. So the way that works for me is that 15% of all book proceeds purchased through me or through my website, that goes directly back to Canines for Disabled Kids. So I'm super excited to be able to support them. And I do this in 6 months batches, so I can try to get other organizations as well. So I've worked with some phenomenal people. And this is my upcoming event for the book. So I'm going to be supporting them. There'll be some announcements coming out starting soon. And yeah, other than that,
amazing.
Thank you. There's so many just awesome people in the world doing amazing things. So I'm excited to be able to support them.
I love that charity. That is amazing. I support the Asher House. I don't know if you're familiar with them.
I have heard of them.
They're amazing as well. They save, I don't know how many dogs they have on their ranch right now, but there are hundreds of them, and they're rehabilitating them and getting them up for adoption and getting them off the youth list. And so I love that I get to support them. But I love, this is amazing that you pick those, you're looking for charities, and I fully aware of service dogs and the need for them. It is a very expensive process to go through. Those dogs go through such amazing training, and that does cost money. And so it is a big endeavor to get done, but so needed.
There's a big, it's not, the dogs go through a lot of training, but there's also a lot of training that goes into the family,
the handler and the family. Yep.
Right. Yeah. So, and it's not inexpensive.
No.
So I'm excited to be able to help out as much as I can. Like I said, I've worked with some phenomenal organizations over the years, and it's just fun to be able to give back and do that. So yeah. And then the other, my day job of being a copywriter and content writer keeps me very busy. So
I bet it does. I'm going to put the books up on the screen again. Check out Maggie van Galen's. These books they just invite me in. I've spent many, 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 many hours, days, weeks, years reading children's books to kids. I can remember, sitting in a classroom and we didn't have the book in hand. We would do caps for sale, right? And we're like the red hats and the blue hats, and the kids would all know them. And these are the kind of books that you have as well, where the kids are learning the books and they want to read them over and over again. They really want that experience. They want to be, saying it along with you as you're doing it and getting into the characters. And so this is when you have a series, kids love that. They want more and more and more and more. So I'm excited to see your next book that comes out in that King series. That would be amazing. Thank you for being a guest today and sharing so much of yourself with us. I really appreciate it. I know the viewers love it as well. So we are going to wrap things up. If you want to learn more information, we'll put everything in the description below. And if you want to learn more about The Great Discovery, we have an amazing platform, and we have a kids-only login. So a safe place just for kids with lots of resources. We want to assist parents, whether you're a homeschooling parent or just a parent looking for extra things for your children. We know that schools have cut many programs, and so having more offerings to provide for your children is very important to you, and we hope to provide that space. And you can learn it in any language. So if language is a barrier, you can have it translated into over 168 languages that'll fit your family and your needs. Thanks for joining us. Thank you, everybody, for being here. We will see you guys next week. Take care. Bye, everybody.
Bye.